Hey everyone, Charles here with Reclining UTV. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of our products. It's the lowering and reclining seat base for the Polaris RZR. So this right here is one of our seat bases. Now these are made out of 3/16 inch steel. They're powder coated black. We used to offer them in raw, but we're just going to do black on them from now on. Whenever you order up a seat base, you're going to get the seat base, you're going to get one of these little latch housings, these two Allen bolts with nylock nuts, you're going to get 3 carriage bolts, and then you're going to get a shoulder bolt. Okay. Now, this seat base is the original lowering and reclining seat base that uses the factory Polaris slider. That's why it has this cutout up here. Okay. The way that this lowers is the front is close to the same height as a stock seat base is, but the back, you can see that's why it's called a lowering and reclining seat base, because it reclines back. It reclines back 6 degrees. And what the reclining does is whenever you have your seat adjusted fully to the rear position, it'll drop your head down right about 2 inches. It just kind of depends on the seat tolerances and everything like that. Sometimes it's just a hair more, but usually it's about 2 inches. All right, let's get busy with the install. The tools you're going to need for this, you got your T27 Torx. You get your 7/16 socket. You can also use a 7/16 wrench with a ratchet, that's up to you. You got your 10mm socket. Again, you can use a 10mm wrench if you want to, along with the ratchet. You need either a 5/32 Allen wrench or a 4mm. A 4mm and a 5/32 Allen wrench are almost the exact same size, so either one will work. You don't have to have it, but a screwdriver helps, so have that. And then I'm going to use a zip gun. I like using this for all these little projects. Makes it way faster. That way I don't have to use the ratchet or the wrench. Set those aside. Okay. First thing you're going to do is take your seat out of your RZR. So we got this bad boy out. And the first thing you're going to do after getting it out is you're going to take out these 4 Torx bits, or Torx bolts with your T27, your Torx bit. That way this base will come off. All right, after you've removed your seat base, the next thing you're going to do is remove these 4 Torx bolts right here. And these go through your seat frame, through this, which we call the slider plate, and up into your bottom seat cushion. All right, now that you have your seat cushion and your slider plate off of your seat frame, you're going to use your Allen wrench, either your 5/32 or that 4mm you have, on this side of this shoulder bolt, and then you're going to use on the back side that 10mm wrench or socket, whichever it is you got. You're going to remove this shoulder bolt, and you're going to replace it with the shoulder bolt and nut that I provided. What you're going to do is install the standard shoulder bolt the exact same way that the one you took out is. So it'll come up from the bottom. Make sure you leave this little, it's like a nylon washer, goes in there so it slides a little better through this hole, and then using your 7/16 socket or a 7/16 inch wrench, put the nut on it. All right, got the shoulder bolt in there, the new nut. If your spring comes off here, just put it back on. You can see how it goes. And that holds tension on your slider piece here, so it stays over on that one side of that slot. After you're done with that shoulder bolt, you can reassemble this piece, your slider piece, with your seat cushion. So you can see, put the slider plate on your cushion and then put it back up here onto your frame, and you can put those 4 Torx bolts back through there and tighten them back down because this part's done. Alright, I got the seat back together with the seat frame and the slider plate. Goes up in between there. Tighten down the Torx bolts through those holes. Next, we're going to focus on the seat base itself. What you can do is remove all 6 bumpers. These little rubber guys right here is what I'm calling the bumpers, or isolators is another term for them. You should be able to just kind of pry them out of there. If you can't pry them out with your fingers, use a screwdriver and you can push from the back side of them. After you got your 6 bumpers out, you can use your 10mm wrench or 10mm socket, and you're going to remove these 3 nuts off of these carriage bolts. Alright, after you got that plate off of there, you're going to use your 10mm socket or your 10mm wrench, and you're going to take these 2 bolts out right here. Now, the plastic is formed on the back side to capture the nuts, so you don't have to have wrenches on the back side. After you take those 2 bolts out, you can take these pieces off. You're going to reuse this bottom plastic piece, so keep that. This metal piece you are not going to use, so you can set this aside along with the other bolts that you're not going to use. This spring in here, you can use your screwdriver and pop this out. This is what captures your pin, so it holds your seat in place. So you're going to remove this spring steel right here, and you're going to reuse it along with this latch handle. You're going to take it out as well and reuse it. So, one-handed. So, reusing that. Then this guy is done for. Don't need it. So, all right, the next thing we're going to do is grab our new seat base and these 6 bumpers, and you can actually go ahead and install 6 of these. There's 4 holes back here on the rear part of the seat base. Then there's 2 holes on the bottom of the front of the seat base. So put all 6 in there. You have to run the bumpers. If you don't run the bumpers in there, your seat base is going to move around and have slop in it. So make sure and put all 6 of those in. Alright, after you got all 6 of those bumpers in there, turn this base over, and you're going to take this piece with the little notches in it for your slider, and it's going to go on top of your seat base, just like that. And then 3 carriage bolts with nuts that I provide, you're going to insert through the underside of the seat base, the bottom of the seat base, up through, and then put the 1/4-20 nuts on there. And you can tighten these down with your 7/16 wrench or your 7/16 socket, whichever you got. Next thing we're going to do is take your little latch handle, and it's going to go down inside of the plastic latch housing that came with your seat base. Put the spring back in there, which I'm probably going to have to set down the camera to do this. I don't think I can do it one-handed. Alright, now that you got the latch spring in there, your latch handle inside of the housing, what you're going to do is put the latch housing on top of the seat base, and then the other plastic piece goes on the bottom. So latch housing on top, and then that single plastic piece goes on the bottom. Now you can take your 2 Allen bolts and insert through there from the top and put the nuts on the bottom, but whenever you do this, do not tighten down those 2 nuts. Only snug them up. You need to be able to move this latch forward and back still, because what we're going to do is put the seat base in the razor, and we're going to adjust it so you get the best fit. Alright, so I've got my 2 Allen bolts through there. Nuts are on the bottom side. Now this is still, like I said, not tight, I can still move this latch forward and back on the seat base. You need to be able to move it so that we can adjust it in the razor. So next, take this over to the razor. All right, now we're over at the machine so that we can test fit the seat base and adjust this latch. That's why you left this latch loose, so you can slide it forward and back. And the reason you need that adjustment is because this little bar that runs across the front top of the seat base, the tolerances vary by quite a bit. I mean, I've seen 3/16, even 1/4 inch difference. My personal machine here is an 1/8 inch difference between this seat base position, the front passenger, and the front driver. There's an 1/8 inch between all those. So what you're going to do is get the seat base as far forward and as close or up against this front rod as possible. The tighter it is against it, the better, because that's going to be the tightest fit, the most secure for your seat base. Once you get that, you adjust your latch forward or back. You see the pin down in there. And then you can make sure that it latches. Notice I had to push it down on there to get it to latch. Without it, whenever it's just under the front, there's so much tension on the front right there that the thing just sits there. That's how tight the seat base fits in there. So you actually have to push it down on there to get it to latch. Okay, now she's solid. Once you have that where it's supposed to be, you can pull the seat base out and tighten these down the rest of the way. Now whenever you tighten these nuts down on here, you want to make sure that you're not tightening them too much. They don't have to be, you know, crazy tight. If you tighten them too much, you compress this plastic down and you can break the plastic. Another thing you can do is that the bolt will actually hang out too much at the bottom. And whenever the bolt hangs out too much at the bottom, the bolt ends up hitting the frame here before the latch goes down and gets secured on the pin. So make sure you don't tighten these too much, just enough so your latch is not moving, and that'll be good. Now something else to note is some machines, due to variances with this pin, some machines might hit the plastic right here on this bolt right here, the bolt head. Now, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is take like an X-Acto blade or razor blade, and you can shave down this plastic just a little bit until it clears. But that might be another reason whenever you go to latch it that your latch isn't actually latching for you, is because that's hitting before the latch spring inside here can get down on the pin. Okay. Something else I want to note is that the seat base, remember, has the 4 rear bumper positions. Some seat bases out there, they only have 2 of these outside ones. And the reason I still run the 4 is because if you notice, whenever I lift this up, hopefully you can see there, this bumper right here on the gas tank position doesn't even do anything. It's actually resting on this one down here on the frame. So if you have one of those seat bases that only has these outside bumpers, whenever you have the seat base in this position right here, what it ends up doing is it sits on this bumper and on your pin, and this just floats, and your seat base can flex like that. So that's why we run all 4 bumpers back here on the rear, specifically for this position to take care of that. And I mean, you want your bumpers as far out as possible, because the further out, the wider it is, the more stable it is. So that's why we do that. So anyways, you can pull this out, tighten these nuts right here, and then we'll install the seat base onto the seat. We're back over at our seat, and we're about to install the seat base on there. This is the last step before you throw the seat back in the razor. What you're going to do, put these 4 bolts, they have that little spacer on them, through the seat base slots. You're going to install it up on there. All right, so now we have a stock seat base on a stock seat over here, and the lowering base on a stock seat in the passenger side. Both of these are adjusted all the way to the rear, and you can see how much lower. Get that head height. Kind of hard to see through the windshield.